Good morning, grade 10. I hope you're having a good day today.
Good
Likewise,
morning,
sir.
sir.
Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning, sir.
Okay, for our attendance, Mr. Secretary, are you all present today? Secretary Cancino?
Yes, we are, sir.
Okay, that's very good. Okay, so before I introduce you to our topic today, we're gonna play a little game. We're going to have a game of riddles. So let's get started. For riddle number one, can someone volunteer and read the riddle and then answer it? Can anyone guess and read the riddle? Mr. Aurelio?
Riddle number one. No one bothered to check if I was telling the truth. But once someone points it out, I became easy to refute. The answer is fake news, sir.
Okay, let's see. Very good. Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. Now, for our next riddle, this will be a little bit more difficult than riddle number one. So let's see if you guess it right. Riddle number two. I'll read this one. When people don't apply me, they misinterpret. The message is there. You just need to understand it. Now, can anyone guess? Mr. Cancino.
Sir, I think it's comprehension.
Okay, let's check. You are correct. And finally, we're gonna go with riddle number three. Don't worry, this will be easier than riddle number two. Let's see. Can anyone read and try to answer this riddle? Miss Esquera.
Riddle number 3. I made the world stop and ruin their plans. I made you always want to wash your hands. Pandemic.
Okay, let's see if you got the riddle correctly. Pandemic. Thank you, Miss Esguerra. Now, you're probably wondering, what do these three words have in common with what's happening today? May I get your insights? May I get a volunteer? Or should I call one of you? What do these three words, fake news, pandemic, comprehension, have in common with what's happening today? Miss Esguerra?
Sir, I guessed misinformation.
Okay, good point. You are correct. Thank you, Miss Esguerra. Now, may I hear from others if you have any more ideas? Mr. De La Cruz.
Sir, I think fighting fake news during pandemic.
Very good. Now, may I get one more volunteer who can give their ideas on what these three have in common with our current events? Don't worry, there are no wrong answers. Miss Benaventura.
Um, these words are, uh, for example, fake news. We cannot trust all in the information in the internet because someone can alter that news.
Very good. Thank you, guys. All of you are correct. Now, you're probably wondering what this has to do with our lesson. And today we are going to talk about the essential skills for reading comprehension. Now, our objectives for today is number one, we are going to use information from the various text types that can be used in everyday life. So it can be newspapers, articles, social media posts, and the likes. Number two, we are going to develop essential skills for reading comprehension. And number three, we will write a narrative essay about any current issue in the country or the world. So I'm going to need you to get your English 10 module, our quarter one, module one, and we are going to read page 8. Don't worry, I'm going to present it here if you don't have your module with you. May I get a volunteer who can read slide number 1? Anyone? Miss Buenaventura.
The Philippines is one of the countries that has a lot of issues such as poverty, lack of education, unemployment, and such. The country is also known for being prone to different natural disasters such as typhoons, floods, and many more. However, it is not an issue and natural disaster. It's not an issue and natural disaster we are fighting. This time we are all fighting something we cannot see, which is the coronavirus COVID-19 that leads us to chaos and countless deaths. The response for COVID-19 by the Philippines has been expressed as the longest and strictest lockdown in the world, and in addition, the cases of COVID-19 in the Philippines continues to rise as time flew by. As the cases of COVID-19 continues, the people suffer from hunger due to lack of job opportunities. To ease the painful experience that everyone is experiencing, the government gave assistance, particularly the distribution of ayuda such as the food for the financial assistance, where each family can receive up to 4,000 pesos.
Okay, thank you, Miss Buenaventura. Now I'm going to go to the next slide and I will need another volunteer. Okay, Miss Galang.
While the whole world is fighting the virus, we are also being challenged by another issue in the middle of a pandemic, which is the spreading of fake news and misinformation across different social media. These issues we encounter today can lead to chaos since it causes disorganization towards our community that can lead to more problems.
Okay, thank you, Miss Galang. Thank you again, Miss Benaventura. Now, let's move on to a very short activity. We are going to see if you remembered the text we just read. Do you remember? True or false? Now, I am going to give you 5 questions. I want you to read each question and I want you to tell me if that statement is true or false according to the text you have just read. Now, may I get Abigail? Are you here? Oh, she's not here. Miss Esguerra.
Hello, sir. Number one, the text gives us a realization of something to ponder during this pandemic. It's true, sir.
Okay, let's check. You are correct. It is true. Now for number 2, may I get Mr. De La Cruz?
Yes, sir. Number two, fake news and misinformation lead to amity or peace across the different social media apps. The answer is false.
Okay, let's see if you remembered it. Very good, you did remember it. Now, moving on to number 3, Mr. Cancino, are you there? Okay, Miss Cortez, are you there?
Yes, sir. Number three, implementation of lockdowns are the only solution for defeating the pandemic. It is false to, sir.
Okay, let's see. You are correct. The implementation of lockdowns is not the only solution for defeating the pandemic. We would need mass testing, and true contact tracing, and mass vaccination, so that we are going to stop the rise of cases instead of just trapping us in our homes. So thank you, Ms. Cortez. Now, for number 4, may I get a volunteer to read and answer the questions? Who raised their hands? Who was the person who raised their hands?
Sir, it's me.
Okay, Mr. Cancina.
Governments should prepare a concrete plan for different kinds of responses, especially responses to natural disasters and pandemics. It's true.
Okay, let's see. Correct. Thank you, Mr. Cancino. And finally, number 5. Okay, you may speak.
If an idea or information is approved and supported by a large population, this means that it is reliable. That is true, sir.
Hmm. Eh, If an idea or information is approved or supported by a large population, this means that it is reliable and a fact. Let's see. It's it's false. Well, it depends on the situation. But thank you, Miss Buenaventura. It depends on the information that is supported by a large population. Um, so let's say if many people believe that vaccines cause autism, that does not automatically make it correct. And do not worry, we are going to make sure that this thinking is avoided in our lesson. Okay. Now, after doing this short activity, have you ever wondered what made you understand the text? Now, you're probably wondering, sir, it's just common sense. Well, you're partly correct, but there's something deeper than that. What gave you common sense? What made you really understand immediately the text that you read? Well, we're going to talk about it right now. The essential skills for reading comprehension. Now you see, reading is an easy task, okay? While it might be easy, the things that make it hard are misinformation, fallacies, fake news. Sometimes it's hard to distinguish which one is factual or not. Therefore, learning these types like news reports, speeches, and other informative talks deeply will not just give us an edge, but it will significantly help us distinguish facts from fallacies and opinions. So, what are these skills that make us distinguish these facts? Number 1, decoding. Now, decoding can also refer to phonemic awareness. Now, some of you may not be familiar with that term yet, or you probably forgot it since you are now grade 10. But in order for a young learner to learn a word, he or she must first identify the relationship of words and sounds. Now, for instance, to read can successfully, he or she must know how to pronounce C as K, A as A, and N as N. Because when you read something like READ, is it pronounced read, read, or read? Hmm. That's why decoding is one of the most fundamental aspects of reading comprehension. Does everyone understand? Or do you need another example, perhaps, to clear things up? Don't worry, this is an open space. Anyone? Is it clear to you?
It's clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Everything
Clear,
is
sir.
clear po.
okay, moving on. Next, the second one is fluency. To master fluency in reading, students must first recognize letters and words instantly as soon as they saw it. Fluency speeds up the rate of reading and understanding a given passage. Now, for us, fluency is easy, right? Since we we are used to speaking and reading English. Now, even though some of us have trouble pronouncing English words, when we read things in English, we immediately understand it. Correct? Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. Now, this is really important for reading comprehension because if you are not fluent in something, chances are you will misunderstand it. Okay. Third, vocabulary. The ability to understand one word depends on how many words you can recognize and understand. Playing word games is a suggested practice to enhance this skill. Now, does any one of you play Scrabble, crossword puzzles, any anything that relates to words like the app Wordscapes? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
very good. Now, expanding your vocabulary will greatly benefit you because as soon as you go to college or senior high, if you have a diverse vocabulary, you can read and write more words than just basic ones. And vocabulary is also an essential thing for reading comprehension so that when you encounter a word, you immediately understand it because it is already a part of your vocabulary. Okay, next, sentence construction and cohesion. You see, when ideas and details fit together clearly, the reader can follow and read it easily. Now, other than just vocabulary, a sentence must be constructed properly. It needs to be smooth and clear. As you can see here in the screen, cohesion means that ideas are tied together smoothly and clearly. Now, sir, how are we going to make sure that a sentence is coherent? Well, we have what we call coherent devices. Now, we're going to go through them one by one. Now, the first one is the repetition of a key term or phrase. Now, a repetition of a key term helps us give focal to our ideas so that the readers can keep track. What does this mean? Well, let's look at this sample sentence from Bill Clinton. Can I have one volunteer who can read this short sentence? Okay, you may proceed.
We all do better when we work together. Our differences do matter, but our common humanity matters more.
Okay, now what is the word you notice that is being repeated in the sentence?
The word matters, sir.
Correct. Now, you see, guys, having repetition um, emphasizes the idea of a text, and it is really essential when we read something in order to understand the theme or idea that is being presented to us. Okay? Does anyone have any questions or clarifications before we move on?
Everything is clear, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Benaventura. Moving on, our second coherent device for today are synonyms. Now, we all know this. These are words that have the same meaning, but they give different variety of word choices. As you can see in this sentence, I'm already aware that this building will be gigantic from the start, but after the construction, I cannot believe my eyes with this spacious museum. As you can see, gigantic, spacious. They mean the same thing, but when you when you use synonyms, it makes sure that you're not just repeating the same word over and over again. All right? Now, our third coherent device is pronouns. Now, we use pronouns like he, him, she, her, they, them, it, this, that, these, those, and so on. Now, here's a tip, class. This, these, and those are very useful pronouns when someone is referring with something previously mentioned. It can also be used in referring an entire sentence or paragraph. Let's look at this sample sentence below. May I get someone else to read this? Anyone? Okay, you may proceed.
The vaccine's efficacy was questioned even before they got shipped here in the Philippines. However, the government advises the people just to take it as they are essential in earning herd immunity across the country.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cancino. Can you point out which one of these words is the noun and which one is the pronoun? Which one of them is the subject?
Yes, sir. The noun is the vaccines and the pronoun rather is they.
Okay, thank you. You really understood our our lesson here, or our subtopic rather. Next, our last coherent device for today talks about transitional words. Now, sir, what are these? Transitional words help us identify where is the end and the start of a thought or idea. We may use however, therefore, in addition, also, but, and so on. As you can see from this sample sentence, the word however is highlighted, and we can use this to transition from one idea to the next. When you see the first sentence, vaccines are highly recommended by most of the doctors across the globe. However, the rumors about the negative side effects and people who died on it makes other people decline the vaccines. You see, the first sentence talks about something good, something beneficial, while the transitional words segue the topic into something negative. Okay, do you get my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Miss Benaventura.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Aurelio. Thank you, guys. Next, we're going to get back to the essential skills for reading comprehension. Now, the fifth one is reasoning and background knowledge. Okay, background knowledge about what you are reading draws your inferences, which develop critical thinking and makes reading lighter and enjoyable. I'm going to read the sample sentence for this one. The wind is cool. The sky is a bit dark, but it is already 3 p.m. I guess it will rain sooner or later. Now, when you look at this sentence, how are you going? What is the relationship of inferences to this sentence? What does inference mean? Do you guys have any idea? What does it mean to infer? Anyone? Anyone? It's related to reasoning. Okay. Yes, you may answer.
I think, sir, inferences can give a description in order to know the background knowledge.
Very good. There. That's correct, Mr. Aurelio. You see, inferences, um, it gives us context clues. So when you read this sentence, the wind is cool, the sky is a bit dark. What do you think is going to happen next? Is it going to be shiny or is it going to rain? Now, obviously, it is going to rain. Am I being clear? Do you need more examples? Am I talking too fast?
It's clear, sir.
Okay, thank you, grade 10. Let's move on to our sixth aspect, working memory and attention. All right. So, for working memory and attention, they are both key to achieving new information. Attention gives the reader focus, while working memory makes the information have sense. You see, when you pay attention, you are focused to the text you are reading. You are trying to internalize it. And working memory makes sure that the information is really understood. Like, for example, our previous sentence, when the sky is dark, it is going to rain. It makes sense because the sky is dark, correct? Correct. And here's an example of a working memory task. It's when you hold a person's address while listening to directions on how to get there by Waze or Google Maps. You see, um, do you like traveling? Have you ever used Google Maps before in taking directions?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how was it?
Sometimes it is convenient, sometimes it's not, because not all in the Google Maps is true. For example,
Oh
it
yeah.
is 1 kilometer, but it is really, really far.
Oh yeah. I had the same experience too. And and I haven't used the app Waze yet, but I am familiar with it too. Has anyone used Waze? No? No. All right. So before we move on, I would like to ask if everyone understood the topic clearly. Any further questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
None
thank
so
you.
far, sir.
Thank you, Miss Buenaventura. Thank you, Cancino, for answering. Now, we are going to have a mini activity based on the elements that we talked about today. I'm going to call someone, or if you would like to volunteer, that is fine too. I would like you to read each item and then tell me which one of these choices is the correct answer. Is the instruction clear?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. For number one, do we have any volunteer? Okay, you may answer.
Background knowledge. It is letter D. It draws inferences and it develops critical thinking, that makes reading lighter and enjoyable.
Okay, let's see, Miss Benaventura. Number one, background knowledge. Correct. Well done, Miss Benaventura. For number two, transitional words. Yes.
Sir, for transitional words, it can help us to identify where is the end and the start of a thought or an idea. It's letter C, sir.
Okay, thank you, Miss Esguerra. Let's see if you are correct. Okay, letter C. Thank you again, Liz Joy. Now for number three, can I have another volunteer? Okay, you may answer.
Synonyms. Letter B. It is words that have the same meaning but gives different variety of word choices.
Okay, thank you, Miss Galang. Let's see if you got it right. All right, you are correct. Thank you, Miss Galang. Okay. For number four, attention. Do we have a volunteer or do you want me to call? Okay, you may now answer.
Attention, sir, is letter E. It gives the reader focus in achieving new information.
All right. Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. You are correct. Attention gives the reader focus in achieving new information. And finally, last but not least, number five, pronoun. Yes, you may answer.
Yes, sir. Number five, it's letter A. It is used. Pronoun is used when someone is referring with something previously mentioned.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cancino. You are correct. Now, before we move on with our evaluation, have you all understood this lesson or do you need more or do you have more questions that I could clarify?
It is all clear, sir.
Okay, thank you, class. It seems that you have really internalized our topic for today. For our evaluation, I am going to show you a text for 2 minutes, and I want you to get a pen and any piece of paper and write down these 5 W's: who, what, where, when, and why. Now, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to answer, or you may raise your hands when you are all done. Once I see that you have all raised your hands, it means you are all done with the activity. After that, I will call you to recite the answers. And I will also require you to pass your a picture of your papers to our Google Classroom later so that I may grade them. Is that all clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, class. Your 2 minutes starts now. It is currently 4:40 p.m. and I will give you 2 minutes until we answer. Okay, class, are you all done?
I'm done, sir.
I'm done,
Okay,
sir.
I'm done, sir.
how about the rest? Miss Kyrie's, Mr. Cancino, Miss Esguerra. Okay, so I'm going to block the text now. So, may I get someone who can answer number one? Who? Who is the person being talked about in the text? Okay, you may answer.
Number one, who? Ana Patricia Non.
Okay, let's see if you are correct. Correct. Now, how about number two? What? Okay, you may now answer.
What community path research?
Okay, let's see if you got it right. Correct. Thank you, Miss Esguerra. And for number three, where? Anyone? Miss Buenaventura again. Okay.
Number three, where Maginhawa Street in Quezon City, Philippines. Po.
Okay, let's see. You are correct. Thank you again, Miss Buenaventura. Sorry. Now, for number four, when? Okay. Miss Galang.
April 14, 2021.
Okay, you are correct. And finally, number five. Mr. De La Cruz.
To serve the economy po.
Okay, let's see. You are correct. Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. Now, any of these answers are correct. It is because the due to the COVID-19 pandemic, everyone is hungry, the economy is low, and I remember back when community pantries became trending. I think, well, actually not trending when it. I think community pantries are really good, and it is not just a trend; it is an act of solidarity of the Filipino community. And I would like to thank everyone because you got it right. And as you can see, when you apply the essential skills in reading comprehension, it will be quick to answer the questions of who, what, where, when, why, and the main idea of the text, any text that you read. It is essential, and we may not be aware that we are using it right now. When we are reading a Facebook post, we might think, oh, this is fake news. Or when we read an article, we go, ah, so that's what's happening. And it is really doing a lot for us beneficially for our critical thinking, for when we review, for when we read our textbooks, modules. It is present whenever whether we are young, old, reading a newspaper, or reading our cell phones, laptops. Does everyone understand? Do you get what I'm saying? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, class. Moving on, our assignment. For our assignment for today, you can also see this in our page 19 of the module. I want you to write an essay about any current issue happening today and apply the essential skills for reading comprehension. The rubrics are presented in our slide as well for your information. And I will also post this on Google Classroom. The submission date will be next week, and I hope you all understood. Are there any more questions or clarifications before we end our meeting for today?
None, sir.
We
None
don't
so
have
far, sir.
questions po, sir.
Everything is clear po.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. I would like to end this day by showing you this. Reading without reflecting is like eating without digesting. This quote was said by an Irish statesman, Edmund Burke. Reading without reflecting is like eating without digesting. I want you to read read anything, explore, not just read, internalize. Because whether it's for entertainment or your or for information gathering, it is really, really fun. And I hope when you come across a certain text or a certain fake news article, I hope you come back to this lesson. I hope you remember it and take it anywhere you go. And so when you see something like a Facebook post, I hope you remember this lesson all too well. Okay. Thank you guys. This has been a very productive session, and it's Friday. It's amazing. The weather is nice. Everyone should treat themselves. Everyone should rest after you do your assignments, of course. And I hope you all have a very good day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night
Thank you,
Thank
po.
you,
sir. God
sir.
bless po.
Sir.
Thank you po, sir.